Hello. Hope you're well on this warm summer day, 2024. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're not frying and singeing in the heat dome heat. You know how I feel about heat dome? I will be voting for heat dome in our United States presidency this year. Heat dome is my choice. I think heat dome speaks for me. Basically, articulately explains how I feel about the world. Heat Dome is clear and concise in its presentation, in its communication. It is absolutely direct when it comes to how it feels about humanity. So I am voting for Heat Dome 2024 for president. Go Heat Dome. But I do hope you guys are doing well. I'm going to talk about music today. Mike Paradinas. I was looking through, in fact, I was going to mention new albums this week. I like talking about new albums because really that's 99% of everything that I actually buy and listen to is new stuff, really. I don't buy old stuff. I already have it. I've been collecting records for a long time, so I just don't really have any need for older stuff. Everything I have is new. Mike Paradinas has put out a new album called Grush, and I just like anything Mike Paradinas has done, I love it. I think it's excellent. In fact, I think it's the best album he's put out in a long time. But yeah, I want to talk about new albums because I do enjoy new albums. I like listening to new albums. But, it's like these are the albums that have been released in the last week. Now, follow me here. A lot of this stuff, you ever look at an album cover and you even look at the person's name and you look at the title of the album and you know that you already have heard this album? You know exactly what it's going to sound like before you even hear it. A lot of this shit I've never heard of, so of course that's like a blind generalization. I'm being completely unfair. But these are the new albums. I'm looking at a list of new albums, and we have Kate Nash. Nine Sad Symphonies. I'm looking at the cover. I'm like, yeah, I know what this is going to sound like. I don't need to hear this. I wouldn't spend a second of my life wasting precious seconds on hearing this album. There's a new Pond album. I already know what that sounds like. There's an album from someone named Ben Stellar. Ben Stellar. Never heard of him. Anyone who names themselves Ben Stellar? No, no. Linda Thompson, Proxy Music. She's got like a cover aping the Roxy Music cover. I don't know. Maybe that could be good. I have no clue. Oh, Alcest, Kalani Crash. I'm looking at the cover for Kalani Crash. I already know exactly what that sounds like. Gracie Adams, The Secret of Us. I'm looking at that cover. I know exactly what that sounds like. I don't need to hear it. I've never heard of any of these people, but I'm looking at these album covers. It's like, yeah, I know exactly what this is. The Decemberists, I definitely know what that's going to sound like. John Cale's got a new album. I guess I have a slight interest in hearing that. Moby's got a new album. You already know what that sounds like. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at this stuff. I'm like, I'm not spending any time talking about these albums on my channel. I'm just not going to do it. Now, with Mike Paradinas, you could argue that he's guilty of that too. You know what you're going to get from Mike Paradinas. But the difference between Mike Paradinas music to me is that he's always pushing some kind of boundary. He works in electronic music, sure, but all of his albums sound at least a little bit different. He's always trying something new somewhere. And when he wants to, at least, he can really hunker down and deliver a really beautiful, heart-aching melody. And that's what I'm going to start talking about Grush, his new album, Grush. I think the new album is excellent. I think it's his best in a long time. He obviously is a master at drum patterns and drum programming, and he's done a lot of different drum patterns over the years. He's done drill and bass, and he's done ambient, and he's just done flat out bizarre, out of this world, indefinable weirdness. You can't even put it in a genre or a category. That's where he exists, and the thing that he doesn't always do, I mean, he'll do it at least a little bit on each album, but he doesn't always do it on every track, is employ like a melody and harmony and rhythm and have it all working in concert. And that's something he does on Grush. And I think because of his willingness to do that with the new album Grush, I have to say it's his best album I've heard in a long time. There are some beautiful melodies on this album that I haven't heard him partake in a while at least. Again, each of his albums you'll find that melody hidden somewhere, but this one the melodies is in your face. It's permeating every second of the album, and I mean that in a good way. This album is really pleasant to listen to. The only critical, this is just a personal thing, but the only thing that critical I would say about this album is the songs aren't long enough. I miss Mike Paradinas when he would make a song that was like 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 minutes long. I really miss that. He hasn't been doing that lately. His songs are usually like 3, 4 minutes and then out, and then 3 or 4 minutes and then out. It's like one track after another, which is fine. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but I do wish he'd have a couple of songs that just kind of drifted and had some more time to breathe. But whatever, that's just a personal thing. Grush is a fantastic album. I really love this album. I've been listening to it a lot lately. It's yeah, it's willingness to partake in these heart-aching melodies is really fresh. I like it. Obviously, the drum patterns are there. He's got these frenetic drums on almost every track, but it's not like his '90s era stuff. Like a lot of his '90s era stuff was pretty abrasive, especially when he recorded as like Tuscan Raiders, which is arguably my favorite alias of his. Uh, I mean, he recorded under any number of aliases. He recorded with Aphex Twin. That's a hard album to forget. Expert Knob Twiddlers, the Mike and Rich album. Which, by the way, did you guys pre-order the Aphex Twin Selected Ambient Works 2 box set? Um, one of you tipped me off to this. Was it? Oh my God, I'm sorry. I can't. Was it Mildred? Mildred Mittens? That's your name, right? Mildred Mittens. I think you tipped me off to that. Thank you very much. Because it was a aphextwin.com only thing. You could only pre-order it on his site. You couldn't pre-order it on Bleep. I wouldn't have known about it if not for you. So thank you very much for tipping me off. I did pre-order it. It looks amazing. It was $300 to pre-order. Holy shit. But it's an epic release, and you know it's an investment. It's Aphex Twin. You're going to spend $300, and then when it finally comes out in October, people are going to be flipping it for $1,000 and more. So I don't plan on flipping mine. I'm keeping mine, but I'm just saying if you hesitated because it was $300, that was a mistake because this fucker's only going to climb in value. Anyway, back to Mike Paradinas. He's recorded a lot of music under a lot of different names. This new M-Ziq album is arguably his most lush album. It's just glimmering. The sound it's all upbeat. He's recording in a lot of major keys. Um, the melodies are there. His expert production is there. Everything is there. It's a very glistening album. If you get my drift, it's an album that shines in the sun, that sparkles and twinkles. It's awesome, man. It's his best work he's done in a while. His album that came out, was it last year? Maybe two. No, it was last year. The 1977 album was fantastic. I loved it. I like Grush even better. I love that he's back. Mike Paradinas is back, and he's productive, and he's busy, and he's making music, and he's never sounded better. And I just love that because Mike Paradinas comes from my generation, man. I grew up with this guy. This guy is my childhood, and he's still pumping out albums, and he's still pumping out great music. I can't recommend Grush highly enough. This came out on Planet Moo, which is his label. I bought my copy from Bleep Warp. Mine came on this glow in the dark colored vinyl. It is on Apple Music too, though. That's what I've been listening to actually. I haven't even listened to the record yet. I bought the record because I have everything that M-Ziq has ever done under any of his names. So the collector in me couldn't resist. I had to have that album, physical version of it. But it is on Apple Music if you want to check it out there, and it sounds fantastic. And yeah, it's in the pantheon of M-Ziq releases. It stands alone in its own unique way. I think it sounds very different. Well, I shouldn't say very different. It sounds different from the rest of what he's done. Now, if you prefer his if you prefer his Tuscan Raiders or even his Jake Slazenger stuff, you might not like this. Jake Slazenger is really kind of grimy and dirty funk. Tuscan Raiders is more electro. M-Ziq, he's always kind of done all of it. It's hard to predict where he'll go. Sometimes he'll do broken beat, and sometimes he'll be closer to techno, and sometimes he'll be ambient. With Grush, it's kind of all that shit mixed together. And a lot of his albums are like that, but this one is really sparkly. It's really fun to listen to. The melodies are beautiful. This is where this album kind of stands apart from the rest of his stuff. It's just, there's a lot of songs on the album. I want to say, God, there's close to 15. There might be 15 tracks on the album. And it's just a collection of like 3 or 4 minute songs. But like every song is fantastic, man. It just bleeds into the next song that has an even better melody than the song before it. Just flows really nicely, and I really enjoy this album. If you like Mike Paradinas, you've already checked this out. But if you're unsure about Mike Paradinas and all of his pseudonyms and aliases, I recommend M-Ziq, obviously, Tuscan Raiders, Jake Slazenger. Just look him up. He's got all kinds of names. He's a very talented guy. He's up there in the pantheon of the best cream of the crop electronic producers of the last 40 years. He's up there. And this new album is excellent. I highly recommend it. What I don't recommend are all the other albums that came out this past week. Don't bother with those. Why would you waste your life listening to music where you've already heard it a million times before through a million different other artists? Why? Why would you bother? Spend those precious moments and seconds of your life listening to music from someone like Mike Paradinas, who's not afraid to try something new and is unafraid to make original sounds and soundscapes. Look no further than Grush, M-Ziq's new album. Enjoy. Talk to you later.